Hello friends, I'm Dust Food. Welcome into another video. Today I want to take a look at some licenses that might be coming to the game because we just added Alien and now we got to start asking, okay, they added Alien, they said that's one of the big L licenses. There are going to be two of them. They said we're going to get two of them. So what's the other one? Could be anything, but at the same time, realistically, not really. Realistically, it's going to be one of a few licenses, I think, if they're going to go big L license. So what I did was I got 50 licenses together. 50 licenses that I could, to some extent, possibly see happening. Now, this is really, this is all over the spectrum. Some of these are way more likely than others, and some of them are much bigger deals than others. So what I did is I made a quick little tier maker list here. And firstly, if you want to do this one yourself, I will link it in the description below, so you could always hop in my Discord and let me know, hey, here's how I ranked all these, and I'd love to see that. By the way, look at that. Oh, Dust Food Gaming. What could that be? Shameless. It's shameless is what it is. Anyway, I'm on the Twitters, right? But let's get through these and go on and get this going, because we do have 50 of them. 50. That's not a small number. So I broke it up into these categories. Top category, this is needs to happen. These are the licenses that if Dead by Daylight eventually shuts its doors, shuts down the servers, and these haven't happened, it's just a terrible tragedy that needs not occur, right? Lots of value. These are the ones that they're not necessarily horror Hall of Fame, which is a term I used in Monday's video, but they are licenses that would bring a lot to the game. Niche value. Think of Sadako. Sadako would be niche value. Was she like a megastar? No. Nick Cage would be niche value, right? These are the ones, I would even say possible blaspheme here, but getting an Ash paragraph was kind of niche value. I don't know if that's uncommon. I don't know if people would agree with me on that one, but yeah, that's kind of the niche value. Just as skins is just what it looks like. Just add these as skins. Don't give us a paragraph. Don't give us a chapter. Don't give us any of that. I would just like to see these things added as skins, if at all. And then why bother? Kind of harsh. I get that, kind of harsh, but not every license needs to come to the game, because remember, they only had 4 a year. So realistically, not everything needs to come to the game. Not everything's going to be able to come to the game, because remember, say it with me, life's not fair. Now, if you like what you see, please do hit the like button, yada, yada, yada. YouTube, right? So what we're going to do, these are in American. I was reading it already. These are in alphabetical order, so we're just going to go that way, and we're going to start off with American Horror Story. So this is one that I think Behavior is included on 2 of their surveys as to what, hey, what would you like to see come to the game? And I just don't get it. I don't think American Horror Story, from what I've seen, which admittedly is not a ton of it because there are a lot of seasons, I don't think it's that good. I don't generally like it, and I don't think it really fits with the game, so starting off maybe a little spicy here. Why bother? Why bother with American Horror Story? Next is American Psycho, which if you follow the channel, you know this is one I've been saying for a while. I want this in the game. I want Patrick Bateman in the game, and it helps that the film exploded in popularity probably 3 or so years ago. This one I'm going to put in lots of value. Now, you could make a case, and I think some would make the case, that it's actually niche value, but I think because the film became kind of mainstream again, almost out of nowhere, I think it adds lots of value for the time being. Who knows, a few years from now, it may kind of sink back down, but I think with the prevalence of the Sigma Bale memes, I think there's a lot of value there. Okay, Amnesia. Amnesia: The Dark Descent is one of the most important games in the history of horror gaming, if not the most important. It put a lot of YouTubers on the map to some extent. Guys like Markiplier and PewDiePie just really wouldn't have been what they were without this game. This game was massive, and it got a sequel fairly recently that, to my knowledge, was pretty well received. So this one's a tough one because it borders on needs to happen and lots of value. And a lot of these are going to kind of border between 2 categories. But I'm going to go lots of value. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I don't think this monster right here is necessarily as iconic as some of the others on this list. With the game itself, the property itself, very iconic. The monster, iconic in its own right, I guess, but probably not as much as some of what's to come. So that's my personal take. Anaconda. Huh. Anaconda I put on here because I know people like a good creature feature. People love the monster killers in DBD. And I know that some people are going to they're going to balk at this and they're going to say, but food. They said they're not going to do non-humanoids. Well, keep in mind, early on they said they were never going to do the xenomorph because they would have to rig up an entirely new body for it. So keep your mind open. I don't think that them saying years ago that they're not going to do something means it's a permanent no. Sometimes it's just a no for now. When I look at Anaconda, though, I think this film, I've got some personal gripes with it. I don't think it's a very good movie, and I don't like how it kind of feeds into this fear of snakes that I think is just entirely unfounded, or at least mostly unfounded. I have a pet snake. I'm a big snake guy. I think snakes are awesome. And, why bother? Why bother with this one? Babadook. The Babadook is obviously that's the title of both the film and the monster. And it was a really good movie. It was a really cool look into depression and loss, mourning, all of that. It's a very heavy film. It's a very, very heavy film. And I just don't think it necessarily translates well to the world of Dead by Daylight. Just me personally. Now, one thing I would not hate seeing would be, the Babadook's a pretty dapper gentleman, top hat and all that. So maybe a skin that turns the Blight into the Babadook or something like that. So I'm going to put Babadook in just his skins because I'm not opposed to the idea. I'm not entirely opposed to the idea. But when you have such serious subject matter, I struggle to think about putting it in a party game. It's bizarre to me. BioShock. BioShock is obviously a very popular game series. I do think some people maybe are going back and looking at it with a more critical eye and saying that maybe all of them but the first one weren't necessarily as good as we thought they were. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that myself, but I've seen some YouTube videos about it, and it's an interesting thought, but there's no doubt the Big Daddy is very, very cool, and Rapture would make for a very, very cool setting. So for me, lots of value. I think this would be a good one. Okay, this next one you can't see because when they cropped the images in for this, something's got cut out. This is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I'm going to be honest, where would it be? It'd be on here somewhere. Okay, it's actually bookending this row. So you have Buffy and I Know What You Did Last Summer. Both of these are here because Sarah Michelle Gellar is absolutely iconic. She's meant a lot to the horror genre, even just because she was, for my taste, she was a big name during probably the worst era of horror, which was the early and mid 2000s. But that's not to say that she was bad herself. She certainly wasn't. She brought a lot to different things. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say keep Buffy as a skin, and we will address I Know What You Did Last Summer later on down the line. Okay. Candyman. Candyman, I think, is interesting because people have almost convinced themselves that Candyman is kind of like this S-tier license, when in reality, this is a franchise with one good movie. You can fight me on that. I have not seen the most recent one. Maybe it's 2 good movies. Okay. 2 good movies. Is that the standard for like an S-tier franchise? I mean, maybe 1 really good movie because the original was really good. I don't know that I agree with that, but I think that the DBD community has gotten hyped up enough about it that people would be very, very excited to see this happen. So look, I love Tony Todd. I love the original film, and he's a very recognizable killer in his own right. He's got an awesome weapon. The honeybee motif is very cool. Yeah, we'll say lots of value, but not necessarily needs to happen. I'm trying to save that one. I don't want to abuse that one. Carrie, which this one got cut off as well. And I also think this is the cover from the Chloe Grace Moretz version, which obviously if we got Carrie, we would want the OG version. No offense to Chloe Grace Moretz, who did her best with not great material. But I'm going to put this in niche value. We know that the people at Behavior are huge Stephen King fans. A lot of people who like horror are Stephen King fans. And, Carrie, I think, is actually one of Stephen King's better works. So I'm not opposed to the thought of Carrie, but I do think that I do think there are quite a few I'd rather see before Carrie. But if they announced a Carrie DLC, there'd be niche value to it, and it wouldn't be bad. All right, Chucky. Chucky from Child's Play, or really just a Child's Play chapter in and of itself. Where do you put Chucky? because a lot of people have said they already wasted the power they would have liked to see with Victor from the twins. But I don't necessarily think that Chucky would have to play like Victor. It's a silly game where they can bend the rules all the time. And for me, Chucky would be up here. Chucky would absolutely be up here. But the qualms around his power knock him down to here. Outside of that, I think Chucky should absolutely be in the game. All right, this is Valak the Nun, but really, this is Conjuring as a whole. So, Ed and Lorraine Warren, Valak the Nun. I guess technically you could go with Bathsheba from the first film. I don't think they would, but they could. Annabelle, what's his name? The Crooked Man. You have a lot of pretty recognizable villains and 2 very recognizable heroes. Now, I get some people saying, oh, well, that's kind of bizarre because the Warrens were real people, but the Warrens of the film are not like the Warrens that were real people. I hate to slander anybody, but the real Warrens I have my issues with. The Warrens of the film are awesome, and they're entirely original characters at this point, even if they're based off of real people, if that makes any sense as a sentence. So I don't think it would actually be that bizarre, and I do think that The Conjuring catches a lot of flack for the weaker entries, but 2 of the 3 actual Conjuring films were really good. I think Annabelle had 2 good movies. I thought La Llorona was a fun one, which a lot of people really seem to hate it. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to Nun 2. Nun's a really cool villain. Nun is a really cool villain. But there are people who, for everybody that passionately loves these films, there are people who passionately hate them. So, niche value. Jeepers Creepers. I mean, I put it in here because it's always brought up. I'm tired of talking about this. I am really tired of talking about what it's Victor Miller, right? I don't want to get the wrong name. Hey friends, Dust Food from the editing room here. Just wanted to say it is not Victor Miller. Victor Miller is the guy who wrote the original Friday the 13th film. We are talking about Victor Salva here. Normally, I just try to put some text on the screen when I get something wrong so that, I can say, look, well, here's the correction. But when we're talking about something as serious as what Victor Salva did, I don't want it to be at all walked away that I'm accusing Victor Miller of that. He is by all means completely innocent and did not do these things. So my apologies to Victor Miller. Didn't mean to say his name there. That was a big slip up, and it is Victor Salva who made Jeepers Creepers. Anyway, apologies, and back to the video. I'm tired of talking about what he did, the scummy behavior. I'm tired of it. I would personally say the Creeper should not be in the game. That's me. Some people say, well, they're making a new one and it doesn't involve him. Okay, that's cool. And I love, separating the art from the artist. I get that. For me, I wouldn't be excited. I would not be excited to see this. Some people would. Niche value. DC Comics. Now, I've heard this one brought up a few times with people like the Joker in particular. And honestly, if Joker can slide into like Mortal Kombat 11, there's not necessarily a reason he couldn't slide into Dead by Daylight. Now, what I would ideally see would be, Dwight Fairfield getting a Superman skin, and maybe, I don't know, Yui getting a Catwoman skin or something like that. I would love to see DC related skins. I'm not necessarily wanting a full-on chapter, personally, but I'd be open to it, I guess. Dead Space. Dead Space, I mean, it's iconic. I do struggle to see the main character getting killed in Dead by Daylight, even though I guess technically he got eviscerated all the time in the game itself. The monsters are cool looking, but out of all the monster designs, I just don't know necessarily how you fit those into Dead by Daylight. I'm going to get shredded for it, but I'm going to go niche value for that one as well. Death Note, the only anime I put in here because I don't watch anime, so I can't really comment on any of it. Death Note has always struck me because the main design of that one demon is so cool. The idea of the Death Note is so cool. This one could work. This one could actually work. And that's coming from a guy who knows nothing about anime. Maybe people who have watched anime would say, no, food! No, don't do it. It doesn't work. From the outside looking in, it seems like it could hypothetically work. All right, Evil Within. This one's maybe going to be the hardest. This one's possibly the hardest for me to do because it fits the game so much better than just about anything else on here. But it's not that popular. So the fit, immaculate. The hype, niche. FNAF is the first one that easily goes in the needs to happen. And here's the deal, right? we're getting spicy. Here's the deal. I played the first FNAF. I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. I've been told, oh, you got to play the others and they get better, but it's like One Piece, right? If I have to get 60 seasons in before it's going to pick up and get good, I'm not going to do it. You got to catch me a lot sooner than that. And FNAF did not catch me. So it's not for me. But there's no denying this is the most asked for franchise. Maybe rivaled by like one or two, but I think one of those two was probably Alien. So it's like, it's a top 3 for sure in the most requested for the longest amount of time. It would bring in a lot of new eyes, and there's so many people who would just be ecstatic to get it. I know that some Twitter people are pretty upset at the maker of it because apparently he's conservative or something, but y'all, I just really don't think that's going to factor in to the decision making of if something joins the game or not, because this goes back kind of to the Victor Miller argument of like separating the art from the artist. It's a thing that I think most of us realize we have to be able to do, because again, if you look at things like Hollywood, it's like, yeah, Hollywood is just filled with horrible people, but we still watch the movies. So I don't think that's really a reason not to include it, especially when I don't think the guy who made it is still part of the whole FNAF thing. So I don't know. To me, it's a no-brainer. I think it should happen, but you know, I understand there are going to be people who fight that one. Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is interesting because it's not necessarily horror, right? Or it's not at all horror, but it is about fighting ghosts, busting them, if you will. And I get where some people would like to see it. For me, this is the easiest one to just say, just make it skins. Just give Ghostbuster outfits to a couple of the survivors, and then Clown gets a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man skin. That would be fantastic. You'd have to have a Slimer skin for somebody, or maybe, hear me out, the artist sends out her crows, but instead of the crows, it's Slimers. That'd be awesome. That'd be incredible. Great skin idea. Probably a pretty bad chapter idea. Hannibal Lecter / Silence of the Lambs. I don't know. I mean, Hannibal was in quite a few films himself. He was in his own TV show. If you do Silence of the Lambs, you do get Jodie Foster, which would be cool. Hannibal, Silence of the Lambs is one of my all-time favorite films. It's a great movie. I love it. I just don't know that I see Hannibal chasing people down and hunting them, especially not when we already have, what, like 2 or 3 cannibals in the game. We're going to go niche value. It's not really a why bother scenario, but it is something that it's on the lower end of niche value just because I think everybody knows the film, everybody knows the character, but does it fit with the game? Maybe not so much. Okay, I know what you did last summer. We talked about Buffy earlier, so this is one I'm going to put in niche value. I don't think the killer is all that iconic, but he's got a pretty iconic weapon with... he's not that iconic, but his weapon is. I should clarify before somebody says, oh, you just contradicted yourself. You know, people know about the hook weapon. It's kind of cool. Also, I'm sorry, my chair's popping, so I'm sure you hear that, but I need to get a new chair. Getting Sarah Michelle Gellar in the game would be incredible. That's the choice I would assume they go with for the survivor, but they could go with the other girl who is technically the main character. Yeah, this is some 2000s nostalgia that it was a terrible era for horror, but some people look on it really fondly. So if we're gonna get Sarah Michelle Gellar in the game, I would almost say just do her like Nick Cage. She's one of the few who I think could actually pull that off, but if we're going to do it with a license, I'd prefer this over Buffy with a Buffy skin somewhere down the line, even though getting a licensed skin for a licensed character from 2 different... I don't think that would ever happen. Insidious! They just released a new film. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm hoping it's good. Haven't heard it is, but you know, I like to watch things myself for my own opinions on films, because I've had a lot that people have said, oh, those are awful, and then I watch it, I'm like, that wasn't that bad. So Insidious is one that I am personally very partial to. I think the first 2 were genuinely terrifying, and The Black Bride is one of my favorite recent horror villains. Very scary. I can't even look at her. I don't know why, she just bothers me. Lipstick Face Demon, very solid. And then you could get Patrick Wilson from Insidious so that he could go survive alongside Patrick Wilson from The Conjuring. It'd be fun. Niche value, but I would like to see it. Pennywise from It. This is another one that jumps right up to the top. So we know the devs want this one. We know they've said there's a standing invitation for Pennywise, and it would be great. I mean, It is iconic. It is one of those films that everybody's seen. most people have seen either the TV short or the newer not trilogy, a duology. And you know, I think that the TV short was actually pretty awful, and I thought the second film in the duology was pretty bad. But that doesn't take away from the fact that Pennywise himself is a really cool character, and it'd be cool to get some members of the Losers Club up in here. So something where they feast on your fear and all that, that's a great idea. Easy needs to happen. Okay, we're gonna keep these going. After going vacant for so long, this row is starting to actually fill up. Friday the 13th. Do I have to explain this one? I mean, there can be debate about the Rushmore of horror, right? You think of the big mountain with the president's faces on it, right? Jason, Freddy, Michael. Who's number 4? Leatherface? Ghostface? Number 4 tends to be where the debate comes in, but nobody denies it's Jason, Freddy, and Michael. We have 2 of those 3. Let's get, and by the way, those other 2 that I just mentioned as possibly being the 4th, they're both in the game too. So yeah, Jason, give me Camp Crystal Lake, give me Tommy Jarvis, give me Jason Voorhees. Capital L license right there. Wait, is this backwards for you guys? Yeah, I think it is. Okay, Jaws. I put this one in here as a bit of a laugh, but actually I think it could work in its own weird way. So there is nothing, or at least there's very little scarier than a great white shark. The jagged, sharp, going every which way teeth, those dead doll's eyes. They're terrifying beasts. The survivors from this film would be very recognizable. And if they wanted to get creative like they did with Yoichi by, aging up a character and writing new backstory for him, what if they made the shark, it's twisted by the entity and it's kind of humanoid? I don't know. It'd be very bizarre. It'd be very bizarre, but I can't do why bother because it'd be too fun. It's too fun of an idea, and it's already got the chase music perfectly baked in. Niche value. All right. Ju-on The Grudge. Probably the most famous Japanese horror film that's not named Ringu. Some might disagree here. I'm going to put Ju-on in lots of value. I think this would be a really, really cool one to see. I think people would be generally hyped for it. You'd have some vocal detractors, but overall, yeah, that'd be really, really cool. Jurassic Park. Okay, Jurassic Park is one of these ideas, kind of like Jaws, where at first you're like, yeah, okay. But it works, doesn't it? Running from a velociraptor, which is actually a Utah raptor, it works. And it'd be really cool. And you could run from them as Jeff Goldblum. And you could get the iconic Jurassic Park theme and the park. I'm not sorry about that. Last of Us. Is The Last of Us a horror game? I'd say not. I'd say it's a survival game. Survival horror, possibly. And it's one of the most popular games of recent times. And now it's got one of the most popular shows of recent times. Getting Joel and Ellie would be really, really cool. I forget what the name of that one zombie is. It's a clicker, right? Something like that. This would actually be very, very valuable. This would be a cool one to see. I say go for it, even though the game wasn't necessarily my jam. I'm gonna get crucified for this. It was a little too much of a walking simulator for my taste, but to each their own. It's popular, and it's not all about me. Okay, Leprechaun. This one would have gone here. It would have gone in the Justice skins, but they don't do skins for Victor, so why bother? Megan, the doll. Yeah, I enjoyed this film a lot more than I thought I would. It was a fun movie. Was it scary? No. But this is a movie where they kill dogs, they kill kids, they kill basically everybody, and you're like, okay, wow, okay, nobody is safe. And this doll is dancing for TikTok. Okay, what the hell is happening? So, bizarre movie, niche value, really cool though. Really, really cool. Next, I have this picture of Shao Kahn, but it's basically Mortal Kombat. Doesn't have to be Shao Kahn, but it needs to be Shao Kahn. What do we do with that? Slap my own thigh there. What do we do with Shao Kahn and Mortal Kombat? Here's where I have a dilemma. It is a capital L license. Your Gam Gam knows what Mortal Kombat is. Young kids know what Mortal Kombat is. And everyone between young Zoomers and Gam Gam knows what Mortal Kombat is. And they all know that it is the hyper-violent fighting game, right? It's had comic books, it's had movies, it's obviously had a couple of video games here and there. It's a capital L license. But would Dead by Daylight players be excited to see it? Hard to say. Very, very, very hard to say. I'm going to put it in lots of value. But damn it, know that I want this one more than just about anything else on the list. Okay, My Bloody Valentine. We already have Trapper basically dressed up as the My Bloody Valentine guy. Why bother? Why bother? I'm not as high on this film as I think a lot of people are. The original or the remake. The original has its charm, and the remake is awful. But I don't think this is one we need. Outlast. Outlast was obviously another one of these games where it's like, man, if you were around at a certain point in time, you knew about Outlast. You may have played it, and you definitely watched some people play it. Outlast. I don't know. Sorry, I had a burp. I was trying to buy time while I waited for my burp. I'm gross. I apologize. Outlast is... What do you do with it? Is it niche? I don't know, because a lot of people know about it. But like, for example, I'm 26. Do people, let's say, 5 years younger than me and down, do they know about this game? Because I'm not as sure about that one. And it will go with niche value, but I feel like some people might disagree with me there. Predator. Predator is actually an asymmetrical hunter by design. The fact that it's not in this game already is a tragedy, but thankfully its own standalone game died off, and now we can, be done with all that madness and move on to getting it where it belongs in Dead by Daylight. It'd be perfect. Give me Arnold. Give me really any of the cast from the films. I mean, I've gone over this quite a few times. Predator makes all the sense in the world. It needs to happen. Okay, Norman Bates. Some people... Okay, so I gotta say a couple things. Psycho is one of my favorite films I've ever seen. It was really good. I was shocked by how much I enjoyed it. I watched it while I was living in Budapest, and I was blown away. It's a really, really good movie. But does it work for Dead by Daylight? That part I'm not as sure of. I'm gonna go niche value for it, because I just don't know that being chased around by Norman Bates fits for the game. But I mean, maybe somewhere down the line, if we check off some other big licenses, some of these that are ahead of it, yeah, eventually. I do like the thought of the Psycho theme being in the game, so that's cool. I'm just not sure that this needs to be a pressing issue. The Purge. I hate The Purge. Why bother? I hate The Purge so much. I think it's a terrible franchise with almost no redeeming qualities. Even the idea of The Purge. Oh, we let them purge once a year and they're just not as violent. That's not how it would... It's stupid. It's stupid. And this whole message of the film, oh, well, if you just murder the lower class, you'll solve all class. What? I hate this franchise. It's so bad. How did it get so many movies? Okay, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This is the, my kid wants to watch horror, and I want to disturb them, but I want to do it on a PG-13 rating. It's actually a really, really great movie, and I think that one creature, the great big pale one, very scary. Not meant for DVD, though. Why bother? Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo would be great. This would be amazing, but it needs to be as Skins. I don't really see a world where Scooby-Doo makes a ton of sense with a proper chapter, maybe more so just as Skins. And if they did it as Skins, it'd be incredible. They would sell insanely well. There's really no reason not to do this one, outside of they don't want to make it too adult. But as Velma just showed us, the license holders are okay with going adult. They're okay with foul mouth and bloody and all that. So, even that's out the window. Unless Velma made them a little gun shy, in which case, understandable. It made all of us a little gun shy. Yeah, just as Skins, but very respectfully saying just as Skins. Scream. We have Ghostface, but we don't have Cindy Prescott. We don't have the new, what do they call them, the core 4 from the newer ones. There's a world where this makes some amount of sense, which is why it gets niche value. We have Ghostface, and we have Ghostface on what I would call a sweetheart deal for behavior right now. they're not having to pay as much and they have a lot of creative freedom with it. Why jeopardize that? If they did a Scream one, it would almost definitely just be bringing in a group of survivors. That'd be cool. I would like to see it. I don't know necessarily that that it makes a ton of sense, though. I don't know. Okay, Jack Nicholson from The Shining. I think his name is his name's Jack Torrance. He's Jack Torrance in that, and then he's Jack Napier in Batman. Why did he always get to keep his real name? What? Okay. The Shining is an incredible film. The score is great. I'd love to see how they would convert that to chase music and lobby music. Getting the Overlook Hotel would be fantastic, especially with the maze, which I'm sure would not be awful to loop through at all. Windows of opportunity, value go burr. This would be great. He's got his weapon and everything. This would be a really, really cool one. Does it need to happen? No, I think it's about on the same par as Candyman. Candyman or American Psycho. Great film. Should be in there, but not absolutely pivotal that it's in there. Slender Man. What's cool about this one is they don't actually have to get a license, I don't believe, to use Slender Man. They would probably have to if they wanted to base it off of a specific Slender Man interpretation, but I think Slender Man just kind of belongs to the public. I think Slender Man's in the public domain. I may be wrong on that. But as far as Slender Man goes, Slender Man would be pretty cool. Slender Man was really big at a certain point in time. Not so much anymore. The fad has kind of come and gone, but there was a time where Slender Man was pretty big. I think this one would still be cool to see. I would be happy to see it happen. We're going to go niche value. Okay. We have a picture of Vecna from Stranger Things season 4, I think we're on. Sorry, I like Stranger Things, but I wouldn't call myself a super fan. I've seen all the episodes. I've watched the show, but do we put this in needs to happen? Because with Vecna coming to the game, we would be saying we get Vecna, we get probably 1-2 new survivors, maybe a new map, but we also bring back Steve, Nancy, Jonathan, and the Demogorgon. Yeah, this needs to happen. This needs to happen. Supernatural. Is like the definition of niche value. You have the core diehard fans who would be so excited to see it. And then you'd have like the other 85% of the player base that would not give a crap about this. Now, yeah, I don't feel good about that taking up a full chapter, but I know there are people who would be just insanely excited to see it. Okay, the T-800 is pictured here. Terminator. Some people might disagree with me on this one. Terminator's another one that I put in the needs to happen. And obviously this is a horse that's been beaten to death, but we all know behavior has worked and acquired the Terminator license before. This could happen. Yeah, I think this is Terminator would be up there for me as far as like sci-fi horror goes. The first one was absolutely a slasher film, so I think it makes sense. Art the Clown, Terrorizer. Terrorizer. How many dislikes can I earn on a single video? Terrorizer is a bad film. Yeah, I'm just gonna let that one sit for a minute because I watched it and it's just there to be shocking. The story is awful. Now, they made a sequel. I haven't seen it. Maybe it's Lord of the Rings, right? Maybe. It's not a great film. Despite that, Art is a pretty good villain. He's so much better than the film that he's in. So he would provide some niche value. Though again, the whole kind of like grindhouse films where it's just about, it's all about the kills and there's really nothing more to it than that. I don't know. It's just, it feels like the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to horror. The Descent, the opposite of the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to horror. This, I've said so many mean things about early to mid 2000s horror. That's when this one came out and it was a great film. Now, have a ton of people in the modern day seen it? Probably not. I don't know if it's on Netflix or anything. If it is, go watch it. If you haven't seen it, it's a great movie. Niche value. The Suffering. The Suffering is kind of the Descent of video games. It was great. The people that are familiar with it know it's great, even though I know the internet historian did a playthrough on that one channel of his, and he just took the piss out of it the whole time. And I don't think he loved it. I loved it. I thought it was a really great one. And why I wanted to include it outside of just enjoying it was the monster designs were really, really cool in this one. So it translates in its own way, but holy, this is as niche gets. The Thing, lots of value. It doesn't need to happen necessarily because I don't know how you execute on this concept, but I think that I think the value is very, very obvious there. The value is evident with this one. It's been talked about for as long as licensed chapters have existed for this game. People have been talking about getting a Thing chapter. Yeah. I don't know how you make this work. Now, I mean, hey, they've talked about adding new game modes to Dead by Daylight, so who knows? Maybe if they just if they just add Among Us to Dead by Daylight, perfect. It's done. But realistically, that's not gonna happen. Okay, The Walking Dead. Probably the most important horror adjacent show in the last 20 years. Just in terms of cultural impact. I'm kind of tempted. To put this one in needs to happen. And this is coming from somebody who tapped out of The Walking Dead a long time ago. It still stands as such a massive... I can't do it. I can't put it up here while I have The Shining down here, and The Last of Us down here, and The Grudge down here, and Candyman, and American Psycho, and Amnesia. I can't do it. Okay. I can't do it. I wanted to put it up there. It was so important for culture. It's just not quite there, but damn it, it'd be cool to get Daryl Dixon and some others. All right. Universal monsters. We have Dracula, represents any of them. I'm going to go with Why Bother? And some people are going to be like, what? Why bother? Do you have no respect for the old films? I do. The old films are great in their own way. In their own, very dated, but very valuable kind of way. The reason I put it down here is because if they're going to do a mummy, if they're going to do a vampire, if they're going to do a werewolf, a Frankenstein's monster type deal, I'd prefer an original chapter. Don't lock yourself in for this when you could just do your own vampire. You could do your own mummy. You don't have to use this one. So that's my thought. And finally, we end it with Until Dawn, which is one that gets talked about a lot. And actually, it may surprise you because you see most of the video games have ended up in niche value. I think this one provides lots of value. And admittedly, there is some amount of bias because I do love the game. Even if it's funny, you may pick up on this, that I called The Last of Us a walking simulator, and then I put Until Dawn in here. But, humans are pretty fickle, aren't we? But I think that the amount of really cool survivors we would get from this one would be great. And the Wendigo would be a great killer. But anyway, that's going to do it for me. Let me know in the comments below just how stupid I am for putting everything I put where I put it. Because I know. How can you please everyone with something like this? But I do hope you enjoy, and I hope you'll take the time to fill this out yourself. I'd love to see what people say. Remember, hop in the Discord. It's easy. I pointed down as if it's down below the video. Anyway, hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. And until next time, I have been Das Food. Bye, friends.
I've been dreaming on in my head like I've seen it. A life worth living is a life with meaning. I'll do what I love till my heart stops beating. I'm feeding this demon. Got a taste, can't erase bitterness in my